It's the Unhappy Hour.
All right, everybody, if you're listening live, that took only a matter of seconds. If you're listening after the fact, thank you very much. We are still joined with Zak Baris. You can find him on Twitter. He's at ZBaris. That's Z-B-A-R-I-S. For interesting sports commentary and random chicanery. Check him out. Please also check out our homepage, thenewamericanmedia.com. On Facebook, do a search for The New American Media with spaces in between and like the page. On Twitter, we're at American_media_, and on YouTube.com/The New American Media. Please click subscribe. Zak, bless you, sir.
Oh, thank you.
I'm going to send you some NyQuil. You just sent me some stadium mustard. Can we work a trade?
Well, I'm sick, so I'd love it.
Well, thanks for joining us, and we can, like I said, we can move as fast or as in depth as you want here. I just want to talk about this first round, and it's rare that you get to kind of bring somebody into the NBA. For example, I was explaining to somebody that doesn't really pay a lot of attention to basketball that amazing last-second play by the Houston Rockets to get the rebound, and then it was bobbled, and then they got it, and then up behind the head and off the backboard, and with 0.9 seconds left, they're going to the next round, or this is what NBA basketball in the playoffs is all about. And
even though that series went to 6 games instead of 7, that still may have been the best series I've ever seen in my entire life.
Really? That final shot by Damian Lillard was sick. The execution of loafing around, the whistle was blown, and how he got those 2 perfect screens set. He clapped for the ball, got it, and as soon as he shot that, he pulled his hands back. I don't know if you noticed that. I watched it maybe 100 times on rewind in slow motion. Shooting and then pulling it, like just, I don't want my hands on there if the buzzer goes off. I mean, that was such an incredible buzzer beater. Talk about that series a little bit. What did we learn?
I mean, it was just a really competitive series. It was probably, I mean, just in general, these playoffs so far, I've never seen so many Game 7s. I mean, it turns out most of the Game 7s weren't very good games, but all the other series in those, you know, like I said, the Pacers series was just, it was one of those ones I was like, yeah, it doesn't matter. You know, I didn't really care much about the series, but I still watched it. The Miami Heat series wasn't great, but I will say, though, that Portland-Houston, even if you're not a basketball fan, that's something that would make you a basketball fan. It was just such an entertaining series.
What was it, 4 overtimes?
I mean, Lillard and Aldridge were unbelievable. Wesley Matthews, Nicholas Batum. I mean, all those guys from the Blazers showed up. I mean, like I said, I wrote the Blazers up at the beginning of the season. I did not think, and I'll be the first one to admit that I was completely wrong about Portland. You know, Robin Lopez was tough down low. I mean, and Houston was good too, though. Houston just made some mistakes at the end. You know, in a couple of those games, they blew some really big leads. And it was really Golden State was another fantastic series. There were some great series, and there were some great ones. You know, San Antonio, Dallas. I won't forget the Vince Carter shot from last week.
Oh, that was
my hotel room.
That was
great. I was sitting in
great.
my hotel room in Miami watching that going, I was like, you got to be kidding me.
That's why you watch the playoff basketball in the first place. And that's what every kid does, you know, at the gym or at the playground or in their front yard at the driveway. You know, all right, hey, pass me the ball and count down. 3, 2, give me the ball, 1, and you know, like just that opportunity to take that last second shot, and getting to see 2 amazing walk-offs. Just, I loved it. I mean, how old is Vince Carter anyway? 37, 38? He's got to be up there at this point. But yeah, I mean, Damian Lillard was fantastic, but now, I mean, the Rockets have got to be looking in the mirror. I mean, what do they do with Dwight and with Harden, and what is the problem there? Or are the Blazers that good?
The Blazers are a really good team. They're really good. Like I said, Houston's going to do something this offseason. I mean, they can conceivably, and Daryl Morey is a good. He can maneuver pretty easily. I mean, we've seen that over the last couple of years. But what if they go out and they manage to trade Chandler Parsons, another piece for Rajon Rondo, and go out and sign Carmelo in free agency?
Oh Lord, really?
It's a possibility.
Let me talk about another possibility. I'm hearing that Carmelo to the Bulls is a done deal. Everybody on the national media is calling it a done deal. You think it would be great with adding the scoring there. But Phil Jackson, I think it's pretty much a certainty that Steve Kerr is going to be the coach.
The thing is, if I'm sitting there and I'm Phil Jackson, I was talking about it. My sister's boyfriend's a big Knicks fan. He's from New York. Talking about it yesterday with him, and I said, "What are your thoughts on Carmelo?" He said the same exact thing that I said, and this kid knows his basketball. And it's exactly what I brought up with my friends from New York and kids I've discussed with, and other people, other business people. It doesn't matter. People in the NBA, and they said, if Phil Jackson's smart, he'll let Carmelo Anthony walk. Carmelo is not a person to build around. We've seen that, and we've seen that in this 3 or 4 years in New York, however long it's been now. It's 3.5 years in New York, I believe it's been. And it's been too long. He's not a player to build around. He's not LeBron. He's not a Chris Paul. Carmelo's an all-star. He's a complementary piece on a really, really good basketball team. He's a number 2. He's not a number 1. So I think on the Bulls, he fits well with Derrick Rose and Joakim Noah. As a number 1, he's not a superstar. Superstars teams don't win 33, 34 games a year like they did this year. Whatever the Knicks won, 35 games. I don't even remember. And you don't lose that many games if you're a superstar. It doesn't matter who you are. I can tell you, you put LeBron in any team in the league, they're going to win 45, 50 games minimum.
Knicks won 37 this year.
Okay, so you're going to win a minimum of 45 minimum. And I'm saying if you put them on the league, I can't tell you any team with LeBron this year that would have, other than Philadelphia. And Philadelphia would have still been a playoff team with LeBron James.
Philly had, that's fair.
They would have been a playoff team with LeBron James. And, LeBron's just that good. Carmelo is not. So if I were Phil Jackson, and Phil's one of the brightest minds in the game. He really is.
So you think he's going to let him walk and then maybe just rebuild? What
I would do is, here's what I would do. If Phil is smart, and I have all the faith in the world in Phil Jackson, I really do. Let Carmelo walk. Just get some kind of sign and trade for him, if possible. Let him walk. Deplete the team of talent this year completely. Get a high draft pick for next year. You're free of cap in 2015. That's where you go and make your mark with guys like LaMarcus Aldridge, Kevin Love. They're going to be, and let's say LeBron opts into the Heat this year. Let's just say he opts back in. That means he's a free agent 15. Dwayne Wade could possibly be. Chris Bosh. There are a lot of players that could be free agents in 2015. That's the year, and that's where Phil Jackson comes in and goes, listen, I'm the greatest coach of all time. I have 11 rings as a coach. Okay? I'm going to come in here. You guys are going to win with me. I'm piecing together a team that's going to win. And that's what he can do. That's how Phil should make his mark. Not by re-signing Carmelo and putting a bunch of people around him, because Carmelo's not the player to build around. Let him walk.
How is the contract structured? Is it he automatically stays unless Carmelo opts out?
Well, Carmelo's a free agent. He signed a 3-year extension, I believe it was, a couple of years ago.
Okay. So then it would be on the open market, just get your offers and I'm sorry, we're just not going to match. Yeah, and like I said, if I'm the Knicks, why would I want to offer Carmelo a long-term deal? Other than the fact is, they brought Phil in to win championships, not to win 45, 50 games a year. If you want to have a mediocre 4th to 8th seed basketball team every year in the playoffs, that's what you're getting. Sorry, I'm just watching Shaq and Barkley fight on TNT right now in a physical fight. It's funny just watching. I'm sorry. A physical fight? Yeah, I need to get a TV in my studio here. I'm getting tired of this.
And Shaq just pinned him.
That place got to be rumbling.
I'm sorry, I just lost my train of thought. And now I remember. But
no, just talk about Phil and the mark. It's there to be a championship.
Yeah, sitting there and seeing, if you want your team to win 45 to 50 years, go ahead and re-sign Carmelo. If you want to win championships and you're willing to take a risk, like I said, either way, you're not going to win a championship. If you screw this up, you're not going to win. And if you re-sign Carmelo, you're not going to win anyways. So, like I said, you're better off taking your shot at taking 14 as a down year. Phil come in there. Basically, they're going to be way below expectations with Phil coming in there. Like I said, in the NBA, it's very hard, especially when you're not in good salary cap position. You're not going to be a good team. It's impossible. But that's why you want to position yourself. Do what Miami did. Miami sucked for a couple of years before they got LeBron. Yeah, they were a playoff team for one of those years, but they were a bad basketball team for a few years. But Pat Riley purposely depleted that team of talent, knowing what the ultimate prize was, and he made the right decision.
Yeah, knowing what the ultimate prize was, knowing that Dwayne Wade already set up the details in advance. Just saying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, that's what it is there. I mean, we're gonna find out right quick. I mean, New York is such a huge market. Yeah, the Carmelo experiment, it's kind of come and gone, you know, and it just seems like they're locked into so many big contracts. They do have to do, you know, what the Cavs have done, what the Heat did. You kind of have to hit reset and cycle through some of the stuff and get moving. I mean, let's bounce to another team that I heard this story this morning, and I just found it ludicrous. Mark Jackson of the Golden State Warriors is allegedly on the hot seat for his coaching job. Haven't they improved every single year? Is that crazy
He's
talk?
a terrible coach. He's a terrible coach.
Really?
I'm not a Mark Jackson fan. He turned the most exciting team in the NBA into one of the most boring teams. Really did. It's a team that should be running the floor nonstop. They added Iguodala this offseason. They should have been much better than they were, and they just weren't. I don't like Mark Jackson. I was happy the Clippers won that series just so I was like, okay, good, now Mark Jackson's going to get fired. I don't think he's a very good coach.
But hasn't he improved that team every single year?
I don't think it's him personally. I think the players on the roster have improved dramatically every year. And also the roster itself, with bringing in guys like David Lee, Andrew Bogut, drafting Klay Thompson, I mean, bringing Iguodala in free agency, that's where I think, I mean, that team should be much better than a 47, 48 win team. They should be a closer to 60 win team, 55, 56 wins. And they should be able to get out of the first round of the playoffs rather than being a 6 seed.
Huh. Who do you think would be a good fit there? Who do you think would be a good fit if Mark takes off?
I really don't know yet. It depends. It depends what college coaches are willing to come up. It depends who gets fired at the end of the year. I think a lot of it hinges on, let's see what happens at the end of the playoffs. You know, you're going to see guys like, you know, Tom Thibodeau could wind up being a coach on the open market, but he's not a good fit for Golden State. He's not at all.
Yeah, they're saying
he's not a coach you'd want going to Golden State.
They're saying Thibodeau over to the Lakers maybe, and getting not Calipari. Who are they thinking about getting over in?
There's Roy Williams now. The Lakers are talking to. They're talking to Calipari. They're talking to everyone. They're going to talk to every big name in the books. And the only one who would definitely say no 100% would be Coach K.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. I think there's going to be a lot of moves coming up here. I think it's going to be a very. I think some of these college coaches are itching to get back in. That's just kind of the impression.
I mean, if I were Roy Williams and I'm ever going to take my shot at the NBA, it's now. Because here's the deal: Duke just wound up landing Jahlil Okafor. They wound up just landing another recruit, Sean Obi, for next year. He's a transfer. I mean, Duke's recruiting class for these next couple of years is unbelievable. If I'm Roy Williams, if I'm ever going to leave North Carolina, I'd do it before I get fired. He's had a couple down years there. He had some great years at North Carolina. He had some great years at Kansas. He's a phenomenal coach. But Duke right now is at their point where they're peaking, especially in their next couple of recruiting classes. If I'm Roy Williams and I'm ever thinking about taking the NBA job and I'm old and I only have a few years left in this, I'm going to the Lakers now. I think 2014 is going to be a miserable season there. 2014 and 2015. I don't care if Kobe's healthy. I think it's going to be a miserable season unless somehow miraculously they wind up with a superstar, which could or could not happen. I really don't know. I tend to think 15's a year where they're going to wind up with their stars again. But if I'm Roy Williams, that's the job I'm going to take in the NBA.
Zach, let me ask you about Memphis, Oklahoma. I mean, that was another 7-game series.
Another fantastic series.
Yeah, what's the takeaway from that series? I mean, they're saying that Durant's going to be the MVP. That's getting leaked out. I don't know how reliable these reports are, but they're saying Durant is the MVP.
They're getting their asses kicked by the Clippers, and I can tell you right now, if they lose the series, I don't know how much longer they're going to have Durant and Westbrook. I mean, like I said, you know how much I dislike Scott Brooks as a coach. Yeah,
you've said that for a while.
Saying that, I said that after the finals 2 years ago, they should have fired him,
and they didn't.
I've been reiterating my point 100 times. I said you're not going to win with Scott Brooks as your head coach. I mean, the Clippers are kicking the crap out of them right now. They're by 17 at halftime. And how do you have 69 points in the first half of a ball game? You know, Scott Brooks' inability to change up his offense and his defense now for 3 years has cost Oklahoma City significantly, whether it was, you know, not starting James Harden You know, even starting Kevin Martin. I mean, the guy's been obsessed with Cephalosha. He still starts Kendrick freaking Perkins.
Yeah, that's a blast from the past.
I mean, there's so many things he does which I don't understand. And like I said, Sam Presti has made some good moves. I mean, he's had a couple of bad moves too, but for the majority of his moves have been great moves, the majority. But not firing, you know, having an owner like Clay Bennett who's not willing to amnesty Perkins because of the money, you know, or go into the luxury tax, you know, when you now would have had a championship last year if you would have signed James Harden to a long-term deal, rather than trading him for nickels on the dime, like literally pennies on the dollar.
Well, if it was nickels on the dime, I think that's 10 cents to 10 cents. No, I'm just clowning with you.
Well, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's even what Bill Simmons says. You don't trade $1 for 4 quarters.
Yeah, you take the.
And they didn't even get 4 quarters. They didn't even get 4 quarters. It was basically like they traded. Well, basically an example would be is they traded him away, you know, for 4 Canadian quarters, $1 for 4 Canadian quarters. Well, the currency was high. The currency dropped back down, you know, and now basically you got 50 cents for $1, 60 cents. So,
we need to get a loonie. We need to get some loonies in the house. I like the loonies, those coins.
Well, if they would have been traded to the Nets, I would have said you could have traded them for some rubles, but.
Nicely played. No, let's go over though to Canada if we can.
That was a hell of a series.
The loony.
It was a really good series.
Oh, you know what? I digress. But let's talk about the really good series in Canada as we're talking about loonies and Canadian quarters. But I had a question that I meant to put in the Donald Sterling segment, which if you're listening to this one and if you haven't heard it, it's going to be archived at thenewamericanmedia.com and on our YouTube page. So please take a look at our Donald Sterling show that we did. But I had a follow-up while we were talking about the Clippers there, the Clippers in OKC. Why won't the NBA do something like the Green Bay Packers, where why does one player get to own a team instead of a community, and they vote in shareholders, and then they pick the coaches, and why? What is this obsession with one man, because it's usually a man, with a man or an investment group owning a team as opposed to a city? You know, especially a place like L.A. that lost the Rams, that lost the Raiders, in a world that saw the Browns get stolen to Baltimore. Why can't they be owned by the community and they'll never leave again? That's what I'd like to hear answered. I haven't heard anyone propose that instead of...
I've never even heard that before. I think it's a really cool... I think it's a really cool point. I think it's definitely something to think about. And looking at it, I would love to see the Browns owned by the community rather than, you know, some moron from the South.
Moron from the South, or some soccer-loving fan from England that doesn't invest in the team.
Yeah, by the way, if you want to see a funny Randy Lerner song, I'm sure it's been played on the air before, but the Randy Lerner Appreciation Song.
Okay, I'm going to have to take it. I don't know that one off the top of my head.
You have to. You'll be playing the mock keyboard in your head all night.
All right.
You'll be singing the song, too. And the Cleveland Browns' response to it was pretty funny, too. But that was from, I think, 2009 when they hired Mangini. And I will never forget that. I was walking around campus singing that.
I'm looking it up here. Cleveland salute to Randy Lerner.
No, yeah, you have that one, but do Randy Lerner Appreciation Song first, the first one. The one that Aston Villa won.
Okay.
Or whatever team he owned. I don't really care. I think it was it.
All right, I got it pulled up here. I'll take a listen to it off the air. But yeah, anyway, it's just an interesting concept because they're like, oh, well, they should sell to Magic. What if Oprah Winfrey? What if David Geffen? How about screw all you rich? Well, you know, they're not rhymes with bricks. Why does it have to go to a man or a woman or a person? I don't like it at all. I've seen it happen too much where teams are stolen and shade. I mean, L.A. knows you don't even have a football team. We're sitting here. It's one of the largest media markets in the world, and we can't hold on to a football team.
I'm telling you, though, if L.A. got a football team, would you even care? Would you watch them on Sundays, Brian?
Listen to me. Listen to me, Zach. Listen to me good. I would root for a brand new LA team if they didn't steal it from Jacksonville or Buffalo or some other city. If it was a brand new expansion team, it had no history, and we didn't steal it from somebody else.
Over the Cleveland Browns. You would watch them on Sunday.
Hold on, brother. I would root for the. I'll call them the LA. Anyway, I would root for the LA football team Yes, I would. I would consider it a second team that I root for because at this point I've lived in Los Angeles for 9 years. I mean, that's what is it, a third or a fourth of my life or something? I've been here for a minute.
I always liked the Dodgers, but I wasn't, when if they ever played the Indians, it was Indians first by a mile. It didn't matter. I always liked the Dodgers, though. I always hated the Lakers, and I liked the Clippers once they got Chris Paul.
Yeah.
I liked watching. Before that, I couldn't care less about the Clippers.
Yeah, I've liked rooting for the Clippers. I've been to a Clipper game. Yeah, I've liked them, and I went to a Cavs versus Laker game. I've never rooted for the Lakers in my life. I've always been a Laker hater. You could say I just, being in Cleveland, you root for the Cavs, and it's like, oh, those damn Lakers with Kobe and Shaq and all those championships. But no, I would totally root for an LA football team unless they played Cleveland. Cleveland would always be my number one team.
See, with the Browns, I couldn't even remotely. I don't even like any other team other than the Browns. I'm such a diehard Browns fan.
You need to join my fantasy football league. That'll break you of that habit real quick.
All of them.
Like
I said, my Sundays are so devoted to the Browns. It doesn't matter what I'm doing. I drop everything. I don't care how bad they are. And I will watch the Browns. It doesn't matter to me. I love the Browns so much. Such a diehard.
Well, if you're going to be around the area and plan on going to any games, we'll have to talk off air because I'm thinking about coming back and attending a game. So,
like I said, last year I went to, I think, 5 or 6 home games. Whenever I was in town,
you did.
Being close to Cleveland, okay, yeah, I'm going to go to this game. I was like, I remember last year I was like, I'm going for the opener. I'm going for the Dolphins game. I'm going to go to Thursday Night Football against the Bills. I can't miss the Browns on national TV. It's 80 degrees outside. I'm coming for the game. I'm going to go to this game. So
then you watch Hoyer the Destroyer blow out his knee on primetime. Like, come on.
I was sitting right there as first row club on the 20-yard line. I was like, oh. I knew it as soon as I saw it. I was like, he's done.
Figures.
All right, well, there goes. I even said, there goes our season. I remember they brought Brandon Weed, and I remember sitting there going, oh, there you go, 3-13. And I go, it was a fun season.
Yeah. Well,
which I was there for the Ravens game when they came, when they won that game, and it was our last win of the season. I was there for I was there for 3 out of the 4 wins this year.
All right, well, maybe you need to go to every game and increase those odds. You need to go on the road like a deadhead.
Too, so.
No, that's fair. I actually want to get your quick hit on who we drafted number 4, but really quick, let's get back to this. Brooklyn-Toronto, you said it was a great series. We were talking about the Looney and the Canadian quarters a second ago. Another great series, came down to a final play. The teams were in the bonus, down by 1, a great steal, and I caught the end of that game, and I was just going crazy just to have a chance, and then Paul Pierce just came up with a huge play. Just talk about that series in general.
It was a phenomenal series. It was one of those ones that didn't get publicized so much because of the Raptors playing in Canada. A lot of the games were on NBA TV, but it was a hell of a series. It really was. Kyle Lowry was fantastic. DeMar DeRozan, and this is now you're finally seeing. Like I said, I've stuck up for Tristan Thompson a lot, but this is where Jonas Valanciunas really made his mark. He had a great series. And you're looking at him now going, how did the Cavaliers take Thompson over him?
Yeah, well, like you said, it's going to be Tristan's money year coming up soon, and he's probably going to get overpaid.
I'm almost positive the Cavaliers will wind up trading him I cannot see them doing something stupid and giving Tristan $10-12 million a year because he's not a $10-12 million a year player. Talking to another friend of mine about a week ago, and he goes, I go, what would you give Tristan? He goes, I wouldn't give him anything more than $3 million. He goes, what do you think? I go, that's about what he is worth to me. I said, like I said, a guy who's worth $10 million should be a really good 3rd or 4th option on a team. Tristan's a 6th, 7th man on a good team. So, he really doesn't deserve that kind of money. But like I said, some crappy team that's desperate is going to wind up signing Tristan and giving him a lot of money and then trying to trade him after a year. Like I said, I do like Tristan as a player, but he just isn't worth, he just isn't worth $10-12 million a year, and that's what some team's going to give him. So if the Cavaliers have the opportunity to go and get Kevin Love this offseason, and you've got to give up Waiters, Tristan, and a first-round pick, fine, go ahead and do it, because you're going to lose Tristan after the season anyways. So you're giving up Waiters and the number 9 overall pick in the draft for Kevin Love, essentially.
I kind of Kind of like that. Kind of thinking about that since Dion doesn't play very well with others.
Even if Kevin Love is a one-year rental, Kevin Love is still there. You're making your pitch. Like I said, everybody knows, and nobody's stupid in their right mind going, why would the Cavaliers only trade for Love for 1 year? That's not what they're going for. They're going to sit there and they're saying, listen, we can offer you Kyrie and Love, and Miami can offer you Wade and Bosh. We can offer you Kyrie and Love. We can offer you. We're loaded with young picks. We're loaded. We're loaded at these positions. We also have a young Anthony Bennett who could, as bad as he had as a rookie year, I'm telling you, he's still going to be a good player in this league. And
we're coming around on that pick now. I like it.
Like I said, well, no. It's not that Bennett had a horrible year. He just wasn't in shape. He wasn't ready for the season.
And he was not just out of shape. He was coming off the shoulder injury, which made him out of shape. So it was like a compounded thing. It wasn't just a lazy kid. Well,
Bennett's already doing his off-season training. He's been doing his off-season training. He's been in Vegas training over at Impact already. So, over there, he like I said, I have a feeling he's going to wind up he could win. I'm not saying he will, but he'll be one of the candidates for most improved player next year. I'll be really surprised if he doesn't make a huge leap forward.
Well, given where he played this year, it was pretty much at the bottom.
No, but towards the end of the year, he had some really good games.
He did.
Came on strong, like I said.
He had some double-double. He didn't put a triple-double up. He had a couple double-doubles or something, right?
He had an 18-10 game.
Yeah.
My friend still owes me money. He still owes me dinner one time because I bet him. He goes, I guarantee that Bennett will put in 20. He'll put up 20 points in a game before March, and I go, deal. Then we'll buy lunch. Well, he put up 18. I'll never forget watching the game going, don't put up 20, don't put up 20, don't put up 20.
The things that Cleveland fans actually root for. No, it is pretty funny. We'll see how it goes. When does the NBA? This isn't a gotcha question, but I really don't know. Obviously after the playoffs end, but when does free agency start? When is the draft?
Sometime in July. July.
All right.
It's like the first or second week of July.
Well, I mean, we got a lot of basketball first.
It's going to be an issue with LeBron, though. Like I said, it's going to be one of those things where I think if Miami loses, I think he opts out. I think if Miami wins, he's a for sure opt-in. He's going to go for 4 in a row with them, if they win. If they lose, I think it'll be different. I think he'll look to explore his options. As I said, I don't think Miami's going to be... like I said, I wouldn't surprise me to see them in the championship again next year because as long as any team has LeBron, they're going to be a contender.
Yeah, and you look at the East, you got the Wizards, they just beat the Pacers today 102-96.
But, I mean, like I said, a younger team with Kevin Love, who's better than Chris Bosh, and Kyrie Irving, who next year may be a better player than Dwayne Wade, if he can stay healthy, and you look at the complementary pieces, then you're looking going, and LeBron's going, okay, I can go back home, I can play with Love and Kyrie, and, this is what I'm going to do now. Okay, yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense. Cleveland's put together a good team on the floor. It's a team I can go out and win 65 games with in a season. I can make this like old times. I can go out and win 65, no problem, and we can breeze through the Eastern Conference.
Well, that's what I'm getting at here. The Heat were the only team that really got in and swept and took care of business against Charlotte. You think Brooklyn's going to give them any bit of a fight?
Brooklyn beat Miami all 4 times. Sure, I bet Brooklyn takes a game or 2. I think it goes into 5 or 6, but I don't think Brooklyn's going to beat them. Now, I hope I could be wrong.
And the Pacers looked damn near unstoppable at certain points this year, and the wheels have fallen off. They're down 0-1.
I just don't understand what happened to Roy Hibbert. I don't understand why he hasn't been benched. He's freaking terrible.
That's insane. It really is. I mean, so the Wizards and the Pacers, neither of them are probably going to give the Heat much of a problem either, in theory, right?
Mm-hmm. I mean, well, the Wizards against Miami, they could challenge Miami, and I'll tell you why.
Tell me why.
They have that really quick guard play, and I think they could wind up. I think they wind up giving them a challenge.
Interesting. Well, I mean,
I'm not saying they're going to beat them, but I'm saying that's a series that could go to 6 games.
All right. Well, the Pacers took them to the limit last year, and I don't know. I was kind of excited for that, but
I think Washington could beat the Pacers in 4. With the way the Pacers played tonight, Washington could win that series in 4.
Well, let's bounce over it because as we speak, the Thunder are down by 20 to the Clippers with 6.5 left in the third, down 21 now. So we'll see what happens there, and then Portland, San Antonio. I mean, San Antonio is just they get it done. They're too old and they're. But they're always around, and they're so well coached with Popovich, and they still have talent. And I mean, Blazers, Spurs. Who do you like in that series?
Ooh, I think that one goes to 7, but I like the Spurs. Like I said, I'm not going to sit there and discount the Spurs because I really, like I said, they always show up.
Yeah.
You know, and I think if anybody has a chance at beating the Miami Heat, I think it's the San Antonio Spurs.
This year, the Spurs.
Mm-hmm.
Because it didn't go
They're
so
not any
well
worse than they were a year ago.
Yeah, I was going to say, it didn't go so well for them recently against the Heat.
I think they'd be okay.
All right.
I think that series goes to 7.
Well, hey, the Clippers might be a team on a destiny right now. We'll see how it shakes out.
I think Miami would clean Oklahoma City's clock, though.
Really? MVP versus MVP?
Yeah. Miami would beat them in 5.
Wow. So what's the Clip? What is the Thunder problem?
I don't know. I mean, like I said, they're a very predictable offense. Their offense is very predictable. It's either go hard with Kevin Durant or Russell Westbrook every time down the floor. They don't move the ball well. Like I said, I mean, the inability of Scott Brooks to bench Kendrick Perkins is just, it's out of this world. And they're getting destroyed defensively. I mean, Chris Paul's got 30 points in the middle of the third quarter.
Jeez.
He's 8 for 8 on 3-pointers tonight.
So who's worse, the Thunder or the Mike Brown Cavaliers, where it was give it to LeBron, clear the floor, and go one-on-one, go ISO?
They were both bad. There's a reason why either team hasn't won a championship.
Yeah, go figure. Well, hey, let's kind of wrap this up here. What about Rookie of the Year? You happy? Is that pretty much what you're expecting? Carter Williams?
He's the only one who deserved it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you said last week nobody deserved it, but now it came out that this is who it is. It's Michael Carter Williams.
Carter Williams is the only one who got. Carter Williams had a great season. I mean, but another thing is he was playing 40 minutes a night. In any other city, he would never have been putting up those numbers. So, like I said, the numbers are a little bit skewed.
And that's fair enough. You see that sometimes where great pitchers, they get no decisions, then someone else is sitting there at 7-0 in the early season. You're like, wow, they're amazing. You're like, no, they're actually not. Their offense put up 11, they put up 8.
It just depends on how much run support they get. And so, like I said, it all depends. The numbers are skewed sometimes, but when looking at it, I don't believe that I don't believe that Scott Brooks knows how to coach a basketball team well. I really don't. I think that I just and the reason I don't think he's been fired. I can't believe he got a contract extension after they lost to the Heat. So, like I said, I would have fired the guy and gone with someone else. They could have had their pick of coach. I mean, granted, Oklahoma City is probably the crappiest city in the United States with a sports team.
I've never been, so I can't judge it yet.
Let's put it this way. I was there for literally hours and I left. I hated that city. Disgusting. Hot and windy and ugly, no trees. No mountains. It was literally the water in the ponds there is red.
Red?
It's red. It's red. It's like because the ground is all clay. It's red clay. So all their water is red. I swear to God, go look it up. It's disgusting. It literally looks like a bunch of dead bodies.
Lord. What is that, the Red River rivalry? That's Oklahoma, Texas,
yeah.
Right?
It is. I mean, honestly, I can't say a nice word about that state. Tulsa actually isn't bad. Tulsa's not bad.
Oh, okay.
Oklahoma City, though, is just, ugh. Literally, in driving through, the whole state smells like cow crap. So, and I'm not even kidding.
No, I've done a little bit of that panhandle, the Texas, Oklahoma thing. Yeah, if it doesn't smell like oil derricks, and burning fossil fuels, it smells like cow patties. I will give you that.
People can say what they want about Cleveland, but by any means, Cleveland's got a lot of culture. It's actually, you go downtown nowadays, you go to University Circle, an area that's booming, and same with downtown. Cleveland's got some super, super nice neighborhoods. It's a nice city. There's tons of trees. It's on the lake. Finally, after a million years, approved a lakefront plan, that's going into effect next year. In the flats, the East Bank is developing pretty quickly right now. They're in phase 2, and they're going to be building phase 3. So Cleveland actually has a lot of nice things coming from Oklahoma City. I mean, literally, that city is just a dump.
What if Scott Brooks and Mark Jackson just swap teams? And they do like that wife swap show on ABC or whatever it is?
Well, maybe Scott Brooks would let just Steph Curry run the floor all the time, so maybe it wouldn't be that bad.
Hey, well, we'll see. Let's do quick overtime here. Just bounce to, this is the week of the NBA, or I'm sorry, the NFL draft. Any thoughts? Because I know you're not just an NBA guy. You love your baseball, you love your football, all that jazz, as we've kind of hinted at throughout this show. Any thoughts with who's going to be there at 4 and who do you think the Browns are going to take?
I mean, personally, I would love to have Khalil Mack. I could just picture the Browns linebacking core right now. You add Mack to the mix. You would have Khalil Mack, Jabal Sheard, Carlos Dansby, Barkevious Mingo, and Paul Kruger. I mean, that front seven would be disgusting.
And then they just signed Phil Taylor again. We got him coming back and clogging up the middle.
You got Ataba Rubin. You got Desmond Bryant coming back healthy. I mean, you've got Billy Wynn. I mean, John Hughes. I mean, the front seven would be a force in a rotational heaven for the defensive core for Mike Pettin. I mean, you have so much to work with.
And Pettin being a defensive guy, yeah, like you just wonder
imagine on third down lighting up Kruger and lighting up Khalil Mack and Barkevious Mingo. You've got so much speed coming off the edges. I mean, it was just, oh my God! But they do need help on the offense, especially. I mean, they do need to go out. I mean, I would love Sammy Watkins in a Browns uniform. I mean. And still, I still get this feeling. Johnny Football intrigues me so much. Part of me says you got to take him, and the other part of me says, how can you pass on Watkins, take a quarterback in the late 20s? So,
I think it comes down to who they like at quarterback, because there are a lot of quarterbacks that might be there later, and they have that extra pick in the first round, they have that extra pick in the third round. And if they're not sold on Johnny Football, if they don't like Manziel enough, and Sammy Watkins, he's a great insurance policy for Josh Gordon, who's one weed toke away from missing a whole season, close to getting a lifetime ban. Look at Justin Blackmon. You could have all the talent in the world, but if your head's not screwed on straight, I mean, could you imagine the 1-2-headed beast of Josh Gordon and Sammy Watkins? And it's a great insurance policy just in case.
Yeah. And another player, I know this isn't a sexy pick, but this is another player that's going to wind up out in the field, and the Browns could wind up drafting, is Jake Matthews out of Texas A&M, the offensive lineman. His uncle is, of course, the famous Clay Matthews.
Yeah.
His dad, I believe, is Bruce Matthews, and Jake Matthews is an unbelievable pass blocker. He's one of those guys that could anchor the line for years, and if you got him, Joe Thomas, and Alex Mack anchoring a line, and just remember 2007. Right. How good the Browns' O-line was, and how good they made Derek Anderson look.
That's true. That is true.
Having a great O-line is. I'm telling you, when you have a great O-line, you protect your quarterback. No quarterback's going to do anything with a poor offensive line. You just can't. And then you sit there and you give your quarterback time to throw the football. He's going to find an open Josh Gordon every single time down the field. There's going to be maybe a guy like Kelvin Benjamin might be available at 26. You've got 3 of the first 35 picks in the draft. You've got ammo to move up. You've got 2 early third-rounders, and you've got 2 fourth-rounders, too. You have tons of ammo to move up if you need to and grab that quarterback again in the first round. So, and there's a lot of quarterbacks. There's A.J. McCarron on the board. There's, I don't like Zach Mettenberger at all. I think he's a Brandon Weeden 2.0.
Yeah, except maybe he's not 42 years old.
He's going to be slipping anyways. Apparently, it turned out today he tested positive for drugs at the combine, so I think he'll slip.
Yeah.
So
I think they like AJ McCarron.
But I
have a hunch
I think
that they
like
do.
Derek Carr, but I think that could be a total smokescreen. I mean, if the Browns come out of the 35 picks with, if they come out of there with Jake Matthews, Teddy Bridgewater, and another wide receiver at 35, I'm not going to be hating it.
Well, we do need a running back, obviously.
But you can find a running back in the third round. I mean, there's Dree Archer from Kent State. There's some good running backs. I mean, Carlos Hyde could conceivably slip to the third. Teams aren't taking running backs high anymore.
Okay. Well, you are right about that. Of course, they're
much less of a commodity than they were 10 years ago.
Yeah, the Browns took Trent Richardson way too high, and then we actually got that, traded him to the Colts. No, I mean we do need a quarterback. If Hoyer's there, let's have him compete. Let's keep him on the team. I liked what we saw, but I can't be sold that a journeyman quarterback coming off an ACL surgery is our answer at the position. But yeah, I mean Matthews, didn't he play right and left tackle too?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I mean he's versatile
guy that
enough.
Can anchor the line for years as a right tackle, and then when Joe Thomas eventually starts to lose his athleticism in 4 or 5 years, you move Thomas over to the right and slide Matthews over to the left.
Jeez.
like I said, the Matthews, and one of the things I love about Jake Matthews is the pedigree, the family. The whole family is a bunch of football players. They're all hard-nosed guys. You know Jake Matthews isn't going to be a bust.
Yeah, that's a fairly safe bet that another Matthews is going to do okay. Isn't there another Matthews playing in Green Bay?
There's Clay. And there's also his brother Casey Matthews, too.
Oh, yeah, from Oklahoma City. Or Oklahoma, or something.
Oklahoma?
Where did he play? Where did he play?
He played his college ball at Oregon.
Oregon State, right?
Oregon.
Oregon? Who am I confusing him with?
T.J. Ward?
Yeah, you know what? I'm having a senior moment. No, I don't know, but I just wonder, because let me just switch gears to something I do know, because I remember watching that Buffalo game against the Buckeyes, and man, he looked so good, the middle linebacker.
Khalil Mack, the outside linebacker.
Looked so good. He was all over the field, and it's like, well, the Buffalo didn't play anybody. Well, I saw him all over the field against the Buckeyes, and I sure as hell know the Buckeyes have somebody.
I believe he had an interception return for a touchdown, a forced fumble, 2 sacks. I remember watching that game and saying to myself, I go, wow, how is this kid playing for Buffalo? I said to myself, I go,
and it was an athletic interception and an athletic return, and to get into the end zone. I was really impressed with that.
He took out Jack Newhart, and Newhart's a second-round pick. He's a projected second runner, and a lot of people, and a guy I like to follow, LaCharles Bentley. Some of the stuff he says is outrageous, but the guy knows his football. I will say that. Some of his off the field issues, he says, some of the stuff he says is outrageous, but the stuff he says about football players, the guy is always right. And when he said Jack Newhart is a chance to be one of the best, one of the most solid tackles and value picks of this, of this draft in the second round, it's going to be huge. He had one bad game all year, and it was against Khalil Mack, and Khalil Mack destroyed him. Is
he a Ray Lewis kind of player? Who does he remind you of, Khalil Mack?
No,
because that would be so good for Pettin. It would be so good for a defensive coach to get that field general in the middle.
He's more of a Von Miller type. Ray Lewis is a middle linebacker. I would say it's more of a Von Miller type. The pass rushing outside linebacker. Almost like back in the day when the Ravens had Peter Bulwer back in the day, or something like that. He's not a Derek Brooks. He's not a Ray Lewis. These outside linebackers in the 3-4 are hot commodities nowadays, and I think he could be huge for the Browns. Like I said earlier, picture on third downs when you've got Khalil Mack and Barkevious Mingo coming off the ends. That's a scary thought.
In a hard-nosed division where you're looking at 3 potential playoff teams sitting there. I know the Steelers have been down, but man,
you have to put, and the thing is, you have to put pressure on quarterbacks. If you put a pressure on Ben Roethlisberger, you put that on Andy Dalton, they're going to go up and throw a pick. It makes it a lot easier on the defensive backs when you can apply pressure to the quarterback. It doesn't matter who you have in your secondary. If you cannot go there and get pressure on the quarterback, we've seen it 100 times over. If you can't get pressure on the quarterback, you're not going to win football games. And no matter what, a quarterback will always find an open receiver if he has time to throw the football. Always.
And how many times have we seen Big Ben make those moves, just ripping our hearts out in those winnable games where Ben Roethlisberger, I've seen it so many times. Hell, I saw Roethlisberger do that against my Bowling Green State Falcons in the MAC championship game at home. It just tore us apart. Anyway, yeah, NFL draft time is going to be fantastic, and we're going to have a special draft show coming up here this week. Man, it's only like 3 days away. It's on Thursday, so I'm really excited about this. Please stay tuned. We will be talking more NFL. And Zach, I really want to thank you for doing a bit of a marathon show today, a bit of a late show, and it's also an early show for next week, whatever the case may be. And I know you're feeling under the weather, so thanks for making some time, man, as always. And I don't know, any final parting words or comments on anything we might have missed?
I think we covered just about everything.
I think so. By the way, was the moon landing staged? That's something we haven't covered yet. No, I'm just kidding. We'll save that for another show, Zach. But hey, man, seriously, I hope you're feeling better. Take some of that. What do I take?
NyQuil.
No, not NyQuil. The fizzy stuff. The emergency. That's it. I was thinking.
Yeah. Well, I missed that. Oh, you got to take that early on.
Yeah, man. Dose up. I get some rest. I hope you're feeling better, and we will be talking a little bit more soon, and definitely these playoffs, if they're anything like the first round, I really can't wait to watch some more of it. So, really, man, thanks for joining us, and everybody. He is found on Twitter. You can find him at Zbaris. That's ZBARIS. Go ahead and send him a follow, and send him a few messages. Communicate. Do the sports thing back and forth. Just don't make silly comments like LaCharles Bentley or the Chris Paul comments that you referenced earlier today.
Like I said, I actually like LaCharles Bentley. I'm just saying some of the stuff he used to say was outrageous off the field, but his football knowledge is second to none.
Absolutely, man. Well, I think I'm out on Twitter. I can't follow from the New American Media, so I'll probably follow from my personal account, and I will look up LaCharles Bentley based on your recommendation. But hey, man, like I said, seriously, get healthy, get some sleep, and I'll be talking with you again soon, pal.
Oh, thanks a lot, Brian. Appreciate it.
All right, take care, Zach. There he goes, everybody. Please make sure you follow him, and please make sure you check out our homepage, thenewamericanmedia.com. Check out all of our content. Go on youtube.com/thenewamericanmedia and click subscribe, because that would be fantastic. On Facebook, do a search for The New American Media and like our page. Make sure there are spaces in between The New American Media and like that page. And on Twitter, we're at American_media_. My name is Brian Engelman. I am signing out for the TNAM Radio Network and the Unhappy Hour. We're going to be live at the United We Stand Festival at UCLA this Saturday, May the 10th. If you guys are anywhere local, you should come check it out. It's going to be really cool. I'm just going to leave it at that, and we're going to get some interviews and videos for you. Hope you check it out. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you again soon. Peace.
Agree to disagree. Yeah, it's a radio show we have on thenewamericanmedia.com every single Friday at 4:30 p.m. Pacific. Join the show. What do we talk about? Politics, religion, and spirituality. Basically anything you're not supposed to talk about in a bar. You're not supposed to have these conversations inside of a bar, but we have them every single Friday at 4:30 p.m. Pacific on thenewamericanmedia.com. Join the show, offer your opinion, and let's agree to disagree, but let's have a good conversation.